Hi, I'm Roxy, and today I'm going to show you a time lapse of my depiction of SCP-073, and I'll explain what it is over the time lapse. So if you've never heard of it, the SCP Foundation is a fictional organization that finds, secures, and contains anomalous creatures and phenomena. It's kind of like Men in Black, if you've seen those movies. But it's not just aliens, it's anything that deviates from the natural. And the interesting thing is it's community driven. The website community itself invents and supplies fake documentation for these entities. So, for example, SCP-073, it's a creature made out of concrete and rebar. SCP-087, it's a staircase that descends for infinity. SCP-5969 is a set of World War II hand grenades that explode into seeds when they get wet. So you'll find the most arbitrary stuff, and what makes them fun to read is the lengths that the contributors go to make it all seem like it really happened. The kind of language they used in the reports, the redacting of information, clearance levels needed to access some of them. On the one hand, it's probably a ludicrous waste of time, but on the other hand, you'd have to apply the same logic to any novel or TV show or computer game. It's just entertainment. One purpose it does have is that quite a few artists use these stories as prompts for when they want to paint something outrageous but can't think of what. You just browse through the SCP database till you find something that interests you. And one of the art discords that I'm on is currently running a challenge to do just that. So I've chosen SCP-073. SCP-073 is basically someone's idea of Cain from the Bible. If you remember your Bible stories, then you know that Cain was the first murderer. Genesis 4:11-16 documents how, as punishment for murdering his brother Abel, God put a curse on Cain so that the ground would never bear him anything he planted. And Cain knew he would become a fugitive and have to wander the earth, and he was fearful that other people would now want to murder him. So the Bible tells us that God put a mark on him that would prevent anyone from attacking or killing him. Now, because the Bible doesn't say how he died, there's these urban legends that he didn't die, that he's still wandering the earth to this day. Some myths even portray him as a vampire. Now, the author of SCP-073 hasn't gone that far, but they have an interesting reimagining of what Cain would be like if he was found still wandering around. I'll read you some excerpts from the official fake report. SCP-073 appears to be a heavily tanned male of Arabic or Middle Eastern descent, in his early 30s, 185 centimeters tall and 75 kgs, with black hair and blue eyes. Arms, legs, spinal cord, and shoulder blades of the subject appear to have been replaced with artificial versions of unknown make and metal. Subject only takes notice of this when it is pointed out, and states that it has no knowledge of how or why or when these replacements took place, stating it had them for as long as it could remember. There is a symbol engraved into the forehead of the subject which appears to be of Sumerian origin. Symbol has yet been untranslated. The subject appears distressed when the symbol is mentioned at all, refusing to speak on it. Subject does not need to eat and drink on a regular basis, but is strictly carnivorous, owing to its effect on plant-based items. SCP-073, who refers to itself as Cain, is generally polite and genial to all who speak to it, though it has been described as being cold and somewhat mechanical in its speech. It is very helpful and enjoys aiding personnel in their daily actions, whatever they may be. It has highly detailed knowledge of ancient to recent events in history and most common spoken languages in the world, including ones that have since died out. Subject has professed to having a photographic memory, remembering word for word all texts in an 800-page dictionary that was flicked through in a minute and a half. It has scored above average in all intelligence tests given to it. SCP-073's presence is inimical. I had to look that word up. Apparently it means injurious or harmful in effect. So its presence is inimical to any and all life grown in soil, causing death to any such life within a 20-meter radius. Any land SCP-073 has walked on and any within the 20-meter radius becomes barren, as all anaerobic bacteria dies, rendering the soil incapable of supporting life until new bacteria are introduced. Anything that is derived from the soil-grown life, such as wood and paper, immediately rots and disintegrates upon touch of SCP-073. Further affected derivatives include anything hydroponically grown. Violence directed towards SCP-073 reflects any damage inflicted on it directly back to the attacker, although SCP-073 visibly remains unharmed. This applies to any damage directed at 073. Attempts to get tissue and blood samples have proven futile. When the procedure was initiated, personnel carrying out the action felt the sensation of whatever was applied to SCP-073 and wound up having a sample of their own blood or tissue, despite the fact that all actions were directed solely at SCP-073. Indirect damage through a medium also results in the person perpetrating the action receiving the wounds caused. Although SCP-073 receives no actual harm from damage to its person, it has stated that it still feels the pain of the action and has politely asked researchers to abstain from overly harmful actions to its person. So the document continues, but that's the gist of it. The reason why I chose this particular SCP is, well, there's two reasons. One, the connection to the Bible, because the Bible is just fascinating. And two, I thought it would be fun to paint different textures like metal, skin, and cloth together. As materials, they all react quite differently to light, so I thought it would be a fun challenge. One weird thing about the metal, though, and let me just skip ahead to Addendum 073-3. Examination of the unidentified metal on SCP-073 has suggested that it is beryllium bronze, a metal that has been documented as being utilized by various anomalous cultures and entities. Most notably, beryllium bronze is a component found in, and then it lists a whole bunch of SCPs. So what's weird about the beryllium bronze thing is that if you do a search online, it just looks like copper. And yet, the majority of the concept art I've seen has blue metal, and in some cases it even looks like there's a tron glow. I'm guessing the first artist took some liberties and everyone else just copied. Either that, or maybe they were trying to suggest the bronze tarnished over time, like you get that green patina that builds up. So it was a tough call to decide, if I'm going to make it look like copper, bronze, or blue metal. In the end, I kind of just went with a coppery bronze and added a little bit of patina build-up, here and there. But it's not the same as all the others where it's just plain blue. So I don't know if I'm going to get flack from the community for that, but we'll see. You might have noticed I'm using Photoshop, which is atypical for me. But the reason is I've been studying concept art, Dave Greco's work and method. I got hold of his main Photoshop brush, so I really wanted to try it out, including his method of creating concept art, which starts as loose scribbles that he fades and keeps drawing over until he gets the shapes he wants. Then he refines the lines like a comic book, and then he adds the shading and values, and only afterwards he adds the color. So there's a lot of ways to approach painting, and this is his way. I love trying out new methods. It was a bit tedious in the beginning. I generally prefer just going straight in with the paint, but you've got to try new things. Some of it will stick and become part of your own process. So I guess that's it. Thank you for watching. Much obliged if you leave a like and subscribe. Until the next one, God bless.